And hello, everybody. This is Magdalena here with our Fridays live questions and answers with Magdalena, and as always, a special topic that I've got prepared for you. So, one of the things that I would like to ask of you is if you have a special request for a topic you would like me to talk about, then do post it on our on the just down below the video, and so that I can address it in the coming weeks. I'm always looking for topics that you think are interesting, that's interesting to you, that's important to you, that you're not finding the answers out there. Maybe I haven't written about it yet, and so it was always good to know what is it that it's missing in your own healing journey. A lot of the time, the inspiration for a topic for today's call, which makes me really happy to do because that's my connection with all of you, is conversations that take place in our closed group on Facebook called Hormone Thrivers. So anyone who's done my programs in the past has access to that place, and we have 2,500 women, and there's a lot of conversations going on, a lot of really wonderful energy and support. And a lot of times, it's also a space, a very sacred space of being okay with being vulnerable and sharing things that we typically don't share publicly on our Facebook pages or maybe other groups. And so one of the recent conversations that I've been seeing is the whole question of how supportive is your partner in the journey that you're on. And what I realized is that it really is quite a large topic, and I wanted to talk about this today because it directly impacts your own healing journey, whether it's hormonal or whether it's just your overall health. Because as you probably know by now, your hormones, there isn't like all that many things that we're doing for hormones specifically. There's a lot of things that we are setting up in the foundation, what I always call, right, like a foundation of a home. I talked a lot about the gut health, I talked a lot about liver health, about stability of your sugar levels. All of those things really set the foundation for good hormonal health. But when it comes to the emotional side of things, and specifically let's talk about today relationship with our partners, it can really bring out a lot of a stress response that you're dealing with on a daily basis. And how does this connect to hormones? Well, if you think about it, when you're in a state of constant, attack from the partner, in a constant disapproval, being ridiculed, being unsupported, feeling so lonely on this journey, this is when, we have this stress response each and every time of excreting cortisol levels, excreting cortisol at much higher levels than otherwise. It's basically a chronic stress response in the body. And so, why is cortisol so important? Well, it is a stress response hormone, and we need it in order to survive, right? But on the other hand, cortisol really is the king of all hormones, and it can drag down all other hormones down with it, including progesterone, thyroid, and the thyroid hormones. Also, when the adrenals are the ones producing cortisol, and what happens is when the adrenals are so tired from the constant chronic response that you're dealing with, and when it comes to our partner, it's like that you see that person so many hours in a day, it can really be exhausting for the adrenals. So not only then the adrenals get tired of producing excessive amounts of cortisol, but guess what? The adrenals are also responsible for producing other hormones, including DHEA and testosterone in women. And further than that, and so everything starts coming down. The adrenals also are responsible for regulating your blood sugar levels, but also your immune system. And so everything starts suffering. When the adrenals are tired, everything starts suffering. Your immune system goes down, you get sick much more often. Also, the other thing I'm just writing that chapter in my book. What if your cortisol is high? How do I reduce cortisol? Marina is asking. I'll come to this in a second. So then, there is a whole chapter in my book I'm writing about inflammation. And there's various causes of inflammation. And guess what? High cortisol levels is one of the causes of inflammation. The interesting thing is we are finding now is that you might have sufficient amounts of progesterone, which is the hormone that allows you to get pregnant and sleep well and keeps you calm and grounded. It prevents you from having estrogen dominance, which is another hormonal imbalance that causes PMSs and fibroids and endometriosis and breast lumps and breast cancers. So progesterone is an important hormone even for non-pregnant women. And when the cells are inflamed from high cortisol levels at all times, then what happens is the progesterone can't get through to the cells. The cells basically shut off from receiving progesterone. And the best example I can give you, just so you can imagine what I'm talking about, is women who want to get pregnant, are very stressed about it. They're trying everything they can, and both physically, emotionally, very stressed, right? Financially, sometimes too. And then they can't get pregnant, and then they give up, and they go and adopt a child. And then the stress goes down. And a year later, they get pregnant. Maybe you know families like that. Anyone knows families like that? I do. I have a couple of friends that happened to them. And the reason why that happens is because when she's in a high state of stress because of wanting to get pregnant, the cortisol is on an all-time high. She's pumped in with hormones. She's got financial issues to deal with because every injection and treatment is over $20,000, right? They are in debt. The husband is, it's just the whole thing is just really, really stressful, right? But then when things come down, because you have a new child at home, things come down, that's when, cortisol comes down as well. The receptors aren't as inflamed, progesterone comes in, and she's able to get pregnant. Wonderful story, right? So I want to talk about this whole thing with relationships today. And I know this is a pretty personal topic, so I don't expect you to be sharing this on Facebook with everybody. If you're comfortable, then please do. But the question here for you is, are you in a partnership? And whether this is with a man or a woman, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. It's a life partner. So whether it's your husband, whether it's your boyfriend, whether it's a fiance, whether it's your gay wife, whether it's your best friend you're living with, whoever is that life partner, hello Laurie, that you are with, how supportive are they of your journey? And one of the things that I want to share with you today is that when I receive emails from women, or I read posts today from women, hello Alex from Maryland, what I realize is that a lot of women are in abusive relationships without even knowing it. And that is tragic, because you are making excuses for somebody's bad behavior, not supporting you on this journey when you really need that support right now, without realizing that it's not okay to display that kind of behavior. And one of the books I want to share with you today, which has been life-changing for me, and in the coming weeks I'm going to be talking about it, is this book here called The Emotionally Abusive Relationship. And it's for both sides of the spectrum, the person who's being abused, as well as a person who is an abuser. It's written by Beverly Engel, E-N-G-E-L. I will post the link later below this video. And I want to read out to you a couple of examples of what emotional relationships look like, and then questions from the quiz to show you whether it is are you an abuser or are you being abused? And you'll be really surprised at some of the things that's going to come up here for you. So just bear with me. What are some of the signs? Well, humiliation and degradation, discounting and negating, domination and control, that's abusive behavior, judging and criticizing, accusing and blaming, trivial and unreasonable demands or expectations, emotional distancing or silent treatment, isolation. I want to read to you the quiz, the questionnaire that she has here in the book that says, are you being emotionally abused? And now this is one thing I just want to preface it before I go on, is that by no means am I bashing anyone here. You have to remember that abuse lives within families. And unless somebody is willing to cut off that continuity of it, that chain reaction that's taking place for generations sometimes in families, only then change can happen. And I know for many of you it's going to be really hard to hear some of those things here today, because all of those require change. a different way of thinking of things. And we all know how hard change is. You know me for the girl who talks a lot about giving up gluten, giving up dairy, right? And that's hard to hear. But guess what? Relationship and changing relationships might be probably even harder than giving up certain foods. But you're gonna deal with it because it can really change your life. The question there, are you being emotionally abused? So see how many yeses are you getting out of this. Do you feel as if your partner treats you like a child? Does he constantly correct you and chastise you for your behavior being inappropriate? Number 2, does your partner treat you as if you were less than or inferior to him? Does your partner make a point of reminding you that you are less educated, for example, than he is? Number 3, does your partner routinely ridicule you, disregard your opinion, thoughts, suggestions, and feelings? Number 4, does your partner constantly belittle your accomplishments, your aspirations, and your plans for the future? Number 5, do you find yourself walking on eggshells, spending a lot of time monitoring your behavior and watching when your partner is in a bad mood so you don't bring up the sensitive topics? Number 6, have you stopped seeing many of your friends or family since being in this relationship? Number 7, does your partner usually insist on getting his own way? Number 8, does your partner punish you for parenting, by withdrawing from you, by giving you the silent treatment? Number 9, does your partner frequently threaten you to end the relationship if you don't do things his way? Number 10, does your partner constantly accuse you of flirting or having affairs even though it's not true? Number 11, does your partner feel that he's always right? Number 12, does your partner seem impossible to please? Does he constantly complain to you about some aspect of your personality, your look, and the way you choose to run your life or your diet? Number 13, does your partner frequently put you down or make fun of you in front of others? Number 14, does your partner blame you for his or her problems? Number 15, does your partner feel like you are the one who is responsible for the problems in the relationship or in the house? Number 16, does your partner personality seem to go through radical changes? He's pleasant one minute, only to be furious the next? Does he experience periods of extreme elation followed by periods of severe depression? Number 17, does your partner tease you, make fun of you, or use sarcasm as a way to put down or degrade you? Number 18, is your partner unable to laugh at himself? Number 19, does your partner find it difficult or impossible to apologize or admit when he's wrong? Number 20, does your partner constantly pressure you for sex or try to persuade you to engage in sexual acts that you find disgusting? And then she says, if you answer it half or more of these questions with a yes, you are definitely emotionally abused. But if a yes answer to even a few of the above questions can also indicate emotional abuse. It might be hard to hear a lot of those points that I just read out, but I need you to do a reality check of where are you with your relationships and how does it serve you? Because I see a huge correlation between finding a super supportive partner in your life, on your healing journey, in everything else that you do, and how quickly you're able to heal. For those of you who are comfortable sharing, is anything coming up for you from that checklist that I just shared? Then just comment in the video down below. I want to switch gears here a little bit and talk about, for those of us who are emotionally abusive, and I just want to preface it by saying this is not, about being a monster. This is not about being a horrible person. A lot of times abusers are people who themselves had experienced abuse from their parents, from their loved ones. And hi Bea, good morning. And so, this doesn't make us a bad person. People who are abusive have experienced abuse in the past, so that's all I just need you to. Alex is saying, my dad used to treat me that way. Thanks for sharing, Alex. I'll be interested to know whether, and so your husband isn't, and so that's a wonderful thing. So one of the things that happens a lot of time in relationships is when we have abusive parents, we tend to do two things. One is we go out there and find a partner who's exactly like that abusive parent that we had. And number two that happens is that we then become an abuser and repeat the same behavior, the learned behavior from abusive parents, without even realizing that. And that, my friends, might be even a harder thing to hear if you're an abuser. So let me take you through the quiz so you can decide from there. This can be quite hard to hear for some of us, I think, if you find yourself in this. So the question is, are you being emotionally abusive? Number one, do you believe you have a right to make most of the decisions in a relationships? Number two, do you insist that your partner do as you say? Number three, do you perceive yourself as being superior or better than your partner? Smarter, more competent, more powerful? Number four, do you secretly disrespect or even despise your partner because you feel that he's weak, inadequate, stupid, or a pushover? Number five, did you deliberately get involved with a partner who would allow you to maintain the dominant role in a relationship? Number six, do you give your partner the silent treatment or withhold approval, affection, sex, or money when he or she doesn't do as you wish? Number seven, do you threaten to leave the house or end the relationship when you don't get things your way? Number eight, do you think your partner and others are just too sensitive, and that is why you get their feelings hurt so often by the things you say or do? Do you think your partner should just learn to laugh at himself instead of taking offense when you tease him? Number nine, have you insisted that your partner drop off all of them, most of his friends and outside activities? Number 10, have you ever denied doing or saying something to make your partner doubt her perceptions or her sanity or his sanity? Number 11, do you believe your partner should be willing to have sex with you whenever you are in the mood, and he should be willing to engage in any sexual activity that you're interested in exploring? Number 12, have you ever threatened to find someone who would have sex with you, who would engage in sexual activities you want engaged if your partner doesn't comply? Number 13, do you experience frequent mood shifts, sometimes going from loving to rejecting in only a matter of a few minutes? Do you frequently become enraged? Are you often aware of what causes your moods to change, but assume it is something your partner did or didn't do? Number 14, do you believe your partner should put other things aside in order to tend to your needs? Number 15, do you telephone your partner at work or at home, wanting reassurance that he's there and he still loves you? Number 16, do you question your partner constantly about his activity when you are apart? Number 17, do you insist on being in control of the money in a relationship? Number 18, do you expect your partner to always have the same opinions as you, to vote the same, to like the same activities? Number 19, have you ever threatened to hurt or destroy something in your partner's life? Have you ever threatened to hurt your partner? And number 20, have you ever thrown or broken objects while enraged at your partner in an attempt to scare him? So, and the conclusion to the quiz is, if you answered yes to even one of these questions, it means that you've been guilty of emotionally abusing your partner. I shared over the December break and just last week's call about filling in the Shining workbook from Leonie Dawson, and I'm part of her Facebook group. And it's quite amazing how, so this is where I found out about this book actually. And somebody posted there that she is in deep sense of reflection because of having discovered that she's an abuser. And that's what prompted me to getting this book. And I'm making a lot of discovery about my own behavior. Very eye-opening, Alex is saying. Thank you. And coming to realizing that I've dealt with, I think I'm falling into the abuser category. I am the abuser in a relationship with my partner, who's incredibly loving and patient very, very supportive. And it was an incredibly hard thing to realize. But once you do, then there's a lot of work that can be done. And that's the other thing about the second half of the book, is really all about how do you deal with it? What do you do with it? And, you know, and then I realized also this today, that all of this is not coming from nowhere. I do have a narcissistic mother who in fact has a narcissistic personality disorder, as she's been diagnosed. And thanks for sharing, Alex. I know this is a very difficult topic, and I see there's a lot of people who dropped off from the call going like, oh my God, what is she talking about? But you know, the harder sometimes the conversation is, the more shifting it can be in terms of the changes that it can create in your own life. Alex says, I've never thought about this before. Yeah, neither have I. I never thought I was gonna be in the abuser category. And you know, and you don't, and again, like this took me also a while to understand that I'm not a monster. And an interesting thing is that it actually doesn't manifest to anyone else. My team will tell you that they don't even know about that. All my friends will tell you how much they appreciate me as a friend. They love me as a friend, and sometimes it's the person you love the most that you tend to abuse the most. So that's something that has to change on my part. That's something that I'm going to be very consciously working on, very diligently working on this year. In fact, I spoke to my partner this morning, I spoke to Brad this morning, asking him if he would write an article about what is it like from a guy's perspective, what advice can he give to a partner. So if you are being abused and you want to show an article to your partner saying, this is what you can do to support me, that's the article I've asked him to write, and he's agreed to do it. So I'm hoping that in a couple of weeks we're going to have a nice new blog post from him. So I'm sorry if this was a dense topic for you, if this makes you feel uncomfortable. But like I said, sometimes the more uncomfortable we are, the more of a shift that we can experience, or at least have that as an opening to something bigger that can really transform your life. So switching gears a little bit, why don't we talk about you guys? And if you want to share anything that's come up for you from this call, great. If you have questions in regards to hormones. So somebody was asking earlier on the call about cortisol levels, right? High cortisol levels. So we've got an article that's going to be coming out. Alex is saying, I believe healing starts with knowledge. It absolutely does. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, so somebody was asking about high cortisol levels. How do you bring them down? I've got an article that I'm editing right now, and we should be publishing it in a week or so, about adrenal exhaustion. That's one article that's still missing on my blog, so we're working on that. And you know, so cortisol can be elevated due to a number of different reasons. The most common ones would be stress that's happening in your life, and this could be stress happening from that relationship I talked about. You know, the person closest to you. Can be stress that's from work, from terrible boss, or horrendous just colleagues, or just doing a job we really hate. So many people like that. I can't believe it. You know, stress from having kids, right? You know, just anything, accumulation of all of that can be creating stress. What can make it worse is when you don't sleep well, right? It's when you are basically when you are, you know, staying up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then having to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're getting only 5 hours of sleep instead of getting what you need. So it's not always 8 hours. For some people, it might be longer, like 9, 10 hours if you're going through a lot of adrenal exhaustion. But also infections can be causing adrenal fatigue and failure. And so you know, I'm talking about infections like Lyme, Epstein-Barr virus, which is also known as mono. When you've got parasitic infections going on, whether you've got SIBO going on, when you have a lot of digestive issues going on because of an infection, or because you're just eating crap, that can be causing high cortisol levels. Let's see what else. You know, sugar levels that go up and down, right? You're skipping meals, your blood sugar levels drop. And guess what? The adrenals are the one that need to come in there and bring your adrenal levels up, right? All of those things can play a huge role in the adrenal health. How do you change that? Well, it's basically with adrenals is basically reversing of anything that causes that stress, right? And, you know, nutritionally, there is a couple of things you can do, and I can talk about this in a second. But I think treatment without blood. Yeah, Robin is asking, is there a way of knowing you cured your adrenal fatigue after treatment without blood test? So first of all, you don't want to be measuring, you don't manage your adrenal fatigue with blood tests because it's pretty useless. Blood, they only do it like first thing in the morning, and it's a total cortisol number. It doesn't show you the free cortisol. So it's a very old, out of date technique of managing adrenal fatigue. If you really want to get a full picture, I talked about testing last week. So if you go to hormonesbalance.com/QA with Magdalena, QA with Magdalena, and I'll post the link down below. Then you can get the details from last week's call about how to test. I don't want to spend the time right now on doing that. How do you know? Well, through your symptoms. So if you had stage 2 adrenal fatigue, which is some levels are high of cortisol, some of them are low, you kind of go back and forth throughout the day, then, you know, you will have symptoms of things like, for example, getting out of a sofa, you're getting lightheaded, you're falling sick all the time, you got like dark circles under your eyes, you get a lot of agitation, you might be crying for no reason, you're craving salt and sugar, right? Stage 3 for Robin. Okay, so stage 3, it's no fun because that's where your adrenal curve is not a curve, but it's a line, right? And so your cortisol levels is flat throughout the day. And so, you know, ask yourself, what symptoms did you have before? And she says, I feel a lot better. That's wonderful. And that's your sign that something is working. The question is, are you back to like normal? And so, you know, you just want to have an absence of all the symptoms that I'm talking about, right? Another one with, you know, adrenal fatigue stage 3 is that bouts of like just really not being able to fight off any infections, getting cold really, really easily. Even if you have like a cut on your hands, for it to heal takes much longer than it would used to. Crying for no reason. You know, those are some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue. Weight that just wouldn't want to go away. Problems sleeping throughout the night. You know, so those are some of the things. If all of that is way better, that means that you're improving, and I'll encourage you to do that. How do you fix the adrenals? Well, you know, it's really, like I said, elimination of all the stressors that I talked about. One of the things that I see that's happening with a lot of women when it comes to adrenal fatigue is that we are not really, you know, it takes more of a lifestyle change than a dietary change really for the adrenals. Plenty of sleep, plenty of, Robin is saying, I'm sleeping much better too. Awesome, that means you're really getting there. I would recommend to do those tests like I mentioned in last week's call. Specifically, I'm recommending doing the Dutch test to really see where you are, because you want to be like in a optimal, you know, not just better, but especially from stage 3, it's not just about getting better, but getting the best that you can possibly be, right? So, but congratulations on doing the things. And Robin, I'm wondering, what have you done that has been working for you in your journey? On the herbal side of things like rhodiola, ashwagandha, right, are holy basil, are really wonderful things to add on to support your adrenals. These are all adaptogens. If you have stage 3, then doing licorice can be very potent, very powerful. You don't want to do licorice when you're having stage 3 adrenal fatigue because you won't be able to sleep and you're going to be all rattled up. On the lifestyle side of things, you definitely want to be doing sleep as much as you can, and stop bashing yourself up that I'm sleeping so much. When you have adrenal fatigue, you sleep. What type of tea? Tulsi tea, Alex. Tulsi. I talked about it last week as well. Tulsi tea is really beneficial. Adrenal supplements, diet, ashwagandha, Robin is saying. Awesome. Are you doing any lifestyle changes that I'm talking about, like sleep and cutting out all where the stress is coming from, or testing for infections? A lot of times when I see somebody getting your diet under control, right, with adrenal fatigue is incredibly important as well. You don't want to have any digestive drama going on. You want to get off gluten for sure. You don't want to be aggravating your your intestines for two reasons. Number one is because when you have a lot of drama going on down there, it's another cortisol spike. But number two that's happening is that the immune system lives there, right? So if you have digestive issues, you're also compromising your immune system. Then the adrenals are getting exhausted even more. So every reason to get off, to do the full elimination diet. I talk about in a cookingforbalance.com program how to do the elimination diet and which foods to remove. So you haven't watched it, make sure you see it. So that's really what, on the dietary side of things. But what I see is if somebody's not making an improvement when it comes to adrenal fatigue, you've done your diet, you're doing your supplements, you're sleeping a lot, you're cutting out the stress as much as you can, you're in a much better place. And the adrenals taking, like you've been doing it for 3 to 6 months and things are still not good, they don't have to be 100% yet. Because mind you, adrenal fatigue takes like a year to fully recover. Sally is saying elimination diet is wonderful. Yep, thank you for sharing. It's you just taking out all the fire out of anything that's inflammatory, your body's struggling with, you're just taking this out. So that's why I think she's saying it's so wonderful. So, so if you've taken out all of those things I talked about in your adrenal fatigue and you're still not healing well within the 3 to 6 months period, then I would encourage you to look into other things like infections, which is very common. That mono I talked about, that whether it's Lyme, whether it's parasites that you're having, right? So that's one aspect. The other thing that I've been seeing, and it goes back to the emotional side of things, is that I have seen people who had experienced trauma in the past, like rape and really difficult childhoods and moving around a lot and going to new schools and being bullied, and unresolved trauma from the past can have a huge impact on our adrenal expression and things that you might not even be thinking about every day, but it's all in your subconscious. It all comes out when you sleep. And that drains your adrenals like big time. So if nothing has been working so far, start looking at, Robin is saying, I did the paleo diet plus adrenal supplements, light exercise. Awesome. Thank you for bringing this up. The light exercise is really important. The word light. I worked with a number of marathon runners. Early in my practice, I was working with a lot of sports people because that was my background as well. And I have to tell you, every like that big sports person, like especially the women marathon runners, they all had adrenal fatigue, and it's so hard to get a runner to stop running. It's almost impossible. I'm a former runner. I only had to stop because my hips give up. Metabolic nutrition, Robin is saying. Okay, yeah, that's one of the approaches. A lot of people are promoting. I reconciled with my dad last year after 14 years of silence, Alex is saying. Bravo, that's a big one. That's a really nice one. Thank you for sharing. So this is what I have for you for today. I know this was a little bit of an unusual thing because we typically talk about food and diet and nutrition and supplements and hormones, right? Testing. And here is like Magdalena talking about being abused and being an abuser. I know this is a little bit of an unusual, but guess what? All of that plays into how we feel and how your hormones are doing, because that's what I'm here to support you for. So I hope you have taken away something from today's call. I want to wish you a really, really wonderful weekend. One of the things that give us the name of the book. Sherry, I'm going to post the book. I'm just going to give it one more time, but I'm going to post it down below the video after the transmission is finished. So it's called The Emotionally Abusive Relationship by Beverly and Engel, I suppose it's pronounced. Engel. I guess German will be Engel. So yeah, and I just hope that you find something that's truly nourishing and nurturing for you this weekend. Something you can do for yourself to nurture those adrenals. There's never too little of adrenal nurturing. Whether it's a little massage, whether it's going for a walk in the most beautiful place, even getting hugs from a loved ones, cuddling up with the kids and kissing and cuddling up with your dog or a cat produces an elevated amounts of oxytocin, which is the love hormone, and that helps also with adrenal fatigue. It just makes you feel so good. And orgasm, let me not forget about that. Orgasm is also, you get very high levels of Oxytocin. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And I will see you next Friday on the next call. And like I said, let me know what topic would you want me to talk about that I haven't covered yet. Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.